Thank you so much for joining us once again for the Culture's Corner. For More for Life campaign, 30 days toward change, 90 days towards something we can live with. We're in day 19. My name is Marcus Salette. Assuredly, as I always say, I have issues, but I bring to the table the wisdoms, knowledge, and understandings to contribute to your transition and or change. I know it sounds crazy, but somebody has to do it. If we all live pretentiously, then no one will have the authentic results that they inspire to see and enjoy. So, welcome aboard. Thank you for listening to us. Voicecast listeners, thank you so much. Ustream, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, iBroadcast TV. Thank you so much to Tammy over there in California. Thank you so much to those on Spreaker. All those who are listening and watching overseas, Europe, Asia, Africa. Thank you so much. Stand by. We're going to talk about your campaign, Stump. Once again, we have been talking about your security detail that I will leave now to you to continue to disseminate, to deliberate on that issue in your life, because if you're going to make change, you assuredly are going to need security, believe it or not. And I may be talking about something that you just have no clue about. You would have to go back and listen to the sessions previous to today to understand. I would not necessarily repeat everything that I have disseminated prior to this radio show and podcast. For those of you that we are a station, so we simulcast the content sometimes out to multiple channels, as well as the podcast directories that we are registered with. So now we want to talk about your campaign, Stump. We know that you are considering running, or you're in the process of running, preparing, but let's talk about campaign Stump speeches. There's several things that I want to say just off the top of my head. Who's writing your speeches in life? I just want to pause right there. Who's writing your speeches? If you're not giving speeches, it's not good. People need to know where you stand. And I'm not talking about this drama for your mama, where you go off on people and break up relationships that are and have value. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the lack of conflict resolution here. What I'm talking about is we have to give speeches. We have to if you're going to run for a campaign, if you want support, if you want votes, you have to give. I give one. I'm on the mic giving speeches every day right here, giving one now. If you listen to any of my content, you know where I stand. And we could go down the issues, and we could have maybe toward the end we might do that. We might go down the issues. Let's just go down a few of them. Where it comes to family and community, you know where I stand. I believe that family has been disintegrated and community has been obliterated, because they are looking to have the powers that be, two groups, haves, have-nots. You either in or out. I'm not splitting hairs about what you're doing in your bedroom and what I'm doing in mine. I'm not as concerned about that, because that is a result of something else. I don't like to treat what is it called, the symptom of the problem. I'd like to think that I have access to the root of the problem. So when you go through, when you go through my content, you'll see where I stand. On the situation with gay rights, I just want to go to a hot button controversial topic for a minute. A lot of people say, well, I'm for or against. I don't have to be for or against it. I'm on God's side on this one. Romans chapter 1, for those that are believers, everybody that listens to me is not, but I'll tell you one thing, people don't know, God stamped his approval on homosexuality. This is where I stand. He gave the okay for you to come out the closet, and I'll give you the reason. Romans chapter 1, because when you had a chance to acknowledge him as the creator, you celebrated the creature. And we do that all the time. But when you do that centrally in your life, this is where I stand, then you get whatever you want. You get to be whatever it is that you feel you want. And as I always say, time is wisdom. So we'll wait and see the balance. You don't have to be for or against gay rights. You know, anything, again, who's writing your speeches? You don't have to be for or against Republicans, for or against Democrats. Just take your position at the time that you understand the issues and the platforms and the information pools from which they come, and write your speech and get your change on and get your transition on. Now, unfortunately, here's another idea. Unfortunately, in our culture, we have for the last past, I almost want to say 30 years, but at least 25 going on 30 years solid, we've fed the culture nothing but sensuality. So by all means, we have a plethora of problems that we would have never had we been a bit more community and principle based. You must admit that. We're talking about sex more today and the lack of money more today, which means that our prosperity is eroding day by day from the community aspect to the family aspect. And yes, prosperity, we have things. We're not talking about that, but the character, you know, the sense of who's going to kill who in our community. Back in the day, community was so tight, you knew who was crazy. But that's why I ask you the question, who's writing your speeches? Who's writing your speech? Your best friend? The one that talk or the one that's popular is writing your speeches? Your child is writing your speeches? Is your whole life revolving around what your child is writing? And listen, I'm not talking about writing it out. Who has the greatest influence regarding what you believe? Because let me tell you this, very cautiously, what you believe is an extension of you. What you believe in, most people who don't have wisdom take extreme measures on a lot of things. You know, you don't have to be extreme on everything. You can be extreme, but don't be extreme on everything. You don't have to be cuckoo, you know. But who's writing your speeches? I mean, for a lot of folks that go to church, the pastor's writing their speeches. If they got this notion, and I don't mean to be remiss, but I must go here. But they got this notion that if my pastor says it, then it's from God. Are you kidding me? Are you joking? And for many years, that was my case. I had people telling me, when I would try to share, the things that until I met two particular people that affirmed who affirmed and confirmed. By that time, I was already in the trench of working it out. But I had people trying to talk me out of destiny in the name of Jesus. I mean, I knew how to be effective. I learned that from my father. I knew how to be effective and influential and impactful. I learned that from the handmaidens and the intercessors of the church. But my problem was I hung on the word of somebody else writing my speech for me. When you go out on the stump of change and transition, who is going to write your speech? And I'm going to tell you this, at first, you're going to hear yourself talk, and the person that influenced you the most is going to be talking through you. Got to watch who you hanging around, having beers with, and cocktails with, and Bible studies with, lest you become exactly like the person sitting across from you on that at that table, on that bench, in that office. You got to be careful. Because the ones that hang around you, that constantly disseminate information, that's who's writing your speech. Somebody say, well, no, God is writing my speech. Well, yeah, you might want to argue that. You might want to argue God is writing your speech, but let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. As for me and mine, I'm writing my own speech. Now I'll give it to you. It will have contributions from influential people. I'm going to give that to you. But I'm not going to let somebody else speak for me, is my point. Out on the stump, because see, I need these votes. Now, when you think about the psychology of it all now, it doesn't mean that you don't want to bring other people on the stump with you to speak up for or about you. But as for me and my speech, I'm gonna make every effort to write it myself. For instance, this thing about love that's going around, it's kind of sickening, because when you really think about love, as you mature and become wiser and you move from innocence to cautiousness and wisdom, you know that love is sacrificial. When you really bring everything down to the common denominator, talking about where I stand, talking about a speech that I've written, love is sacrificial. If you ain't giving it all, you ain't giving up nothing. If you ain't willing to dive in and be the total sacrifice, then you have a long way to go. I'm included in that. But that's what love is. Love can never be measured up to. Love is always something we aspire to attain or to exemplify. But at the end of the day, from the finality of it is that it's sacrificial. I don't have to do it. I don't want to do it, but it demands that I at least consider that if I want to go deeper in it, higher in it, wider in it, you get it, longer in it, then I must give. The speeches are written on the tablets of your heart. Most people don't spend enough time in quietness to even know what the heck to figure what platforms to stand on. Some people are so critical about things that they can't find the wisdom of the matter. It's like the woman that brought the other woman before the judge in the Old Testament, talking about she stole my baby. The judge said, well, who is the mother? He said, she was out on the stump. You feel me? She was in transition. She was getting ready for a change. And all of a sudden, the baby issue came up on the table. Now, she's before the judge giving her speech. Do you feel where I'm going? The judge says, whose child is this? The mother says, it's my child. The mother said, it's my child. And the mother began her accusatory speech. She took the child from me while I was sleeping, and her child is dead, and on and on and on. She gave her speech. Speech of self-centeredness, a speech of selfishness. The other mother gave a speech of selflessness, a speech of truth, a speech of integrity, a little bit of spin. The judge decided to put a little spin on it. I'll tell you what you do. Hand me the child. The mother that was not the mother gave the child. Oh, incidentally, they both had two babies, and one was killed because they rolled over on the child during their sleep. So anyway, the judge says, "Give me the child. I will cut the child in half and give each a half of the child. And then the real mother gave the speech of a lifetime. In essence, her speech spoke of the value of life. Her speech echoed the sentiments that I don't have to have it, but it has to live. So she screams out to the judge with the utmost respect and says, give the baby to her. Give the baby to her. A speech wrapped up in a sentence of a lifetime. Are you ready, should you decide to run for more, for life, for a campaign of change, to give a speech or set of speeches to only be brought to the one of a lifetime? You campaign stump, your campaign speech, articulating where you stand, what you believe, and why. You don't have to antagonize the opposing parties to state your platform. You don't have to push hate and extreme religious ideology to state your platform. You don't have to denigrate culture and downplay principle to state your platforms. Who's writing your speeches? If you didn't have a father in your life and didn't have male influence in your life, you are at risk. Unless you have a relationship with a male somewhere in this earth, one perspective living does not cut it in life. Remember, it keeps us playing games rather than the game of life. You have to have both male and female perspective, irregardless whether it be a blood father, blood mother. You've got to have the intertwining of the two to make your speech balanced. Or you have had to have learned lessons about you and where you stand, regarding the fact that those individuals missing in your life contribute to your seeking and your drive to become better, since you realize that their absence revealed and created and revealed a deficiency in you. I get so sick of people that get up on platforms. I thank God for my mother. And the mother did a lot of crap. You know, she really hung in there. She but you know what? There's gotta be a man in there somewhere. And because we don't hail man as hero, that's a whole nother series. Men are going down. Why? Well, men are achievement based. Most of them feeling like they haven't achieved anything in this life that we have now. You know, I mean, I have my own persuasion about this whole man thing. We're 84% of all households now in the African American community, women. I could tell you in a 5-minute heartbeat, I can't do it now, where that's going to take us and where it has taken us and where it's going to take us, but I can't go there. But your campaign speech, who's it written by? What are you saying? What are you saying? If you don't know what to say, it's best to just be quiet. I have no comment on that matter at this time. Practice that. I have no comment on that matter at this time. Thank you very much. I have no comment on that matter at this time. say that rather than saying something stupid, because the stomp and the speech is the key to the support. This the coach. I'll see you next time.
Broadcasting. Listen to SIB